The massive screen in the United Nations Assembly Hall showed the alien vessel approaching Earth's orbit. It was sleek, gleaming like polished chrome in the sunlight, and impossibly large, nearly the size of Manhattan. Ambassador James Miller wiped his sweaty palms on his suit pants, trying to maintain his composure as he prepared for humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council. "Receiving transmission," announced the communications officer. "They're requesting landing clearance for a smaller shuttle." The world's leaders watched in tense silence as the elegant diplomatic vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing with impossible grace on the specially prepared pad outside the UN building. Miller straightened his tie one final time and headed to the reception area. The aliens that emerged from the ship were tall, their bodies covered in what appeared to be advanced environmental suits. Their leader, who introduced himself as High Counselor Bright, stood nearly 7 feet tall. 4 other council representatives followed behind him, each from different species, some insectoid, others almost human-like, but all carrying what were clearly advanced technological devices. "Welcome to Earth," Miller said, bowing slightly. "We are honored to receive the Galactic Council's delegation." High Counselor Bright's translator produced perfectly accented English. "We have been observing your world for some time. Your species has achieved faster than light travel, however crude. According to Council law, this qualifies you for evaluation and possible membership." The initial meetings went well until the topic of defense capabilities arose. The Council members toured Earth's military installations, their expressions growing increasingly amused behind their environmental suits. During the weapons demonstration at a military base in Nevada, General Davis proudly displayed the latest human military technology. "This is our most advanced battle tank, equipped with a 120mm smoothbore gun capable of—" High Counselor Bright interrupted with a sound that might have been a laugh. "You still use chemical propulsion. Projectile weapons." The other council members exchanged glances that could only be described as mockingly amused. "Even your most advanced weapons rely on gunpowder and kinetic impact." "Our weapons have proven highly effective," General Davis said firmly, his weathered face reddening slightly. One of the insectoid council members stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "This is a standard council peacekeeping vessel's defensive screen." The air shimmered as an energy shield materialized. "Your projectile weapons would be useless against even our most basic defenses." Miller watched the exchange with growing concern. The council members continued their tour, barely concealing their disdain as they examined fighter jets, missile systems, and infantry weapons. Their own weapons, sleek devices that fired plasma bolts and energy beams, seemed centuries ahead of Earth's military technology. At the final evaluation meeting, High Counselor Bright delivered the Council's decision. "Earth will be granted protected status as a developing world. You may continue your development under our guidance, but full membership will require significant technological advancement. Your reliance on primitive weapons makes you unsuitable for full participation in galactic affairs." Miller felt his jaw tighten, but maintained his diplomatic smile. "We understand the Council's position and appreciate your guidance." He caught General Davis's eye across the room, noting the military man's carefully neutral expression. As the alien delegation prepared to depart, one of the younger council members approached Miller privately. "A word of advice, Ambassador. Direct your research towards energy weapons. The age of guns is long past in civilized space." Miller watched their ship depart, its hull gleaming in the sunset. Once they were gone, he turned to General Davis. "They think we're primitives." The general smiled slightly. "Maybe, but I noticed something interesting during their demonstrations. All their defensive technology is designed to stop energy weapons. Did you see how their shields rippled when that technician dropped his wrench? You think their defenses aren't designed to stop physical objects?" Miller asked, raising an eyebrow. "I think," the general said carefully, "that sometimes the old ways persist for good reasons, and I think our new friends might have forgotten some very basic principles of physics." As night fell over the UN building, Miller stood at his office window, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, the council was probably laughing about humanity's primitive weapons, but something told him they might not be laughing for long. The age of guns wasn't as over as they thought. 1 month after first contact, the Galactic Council's military advisors arrived on Earth. Their ship, smaller than the first diplomatic vessel but still impressive, landed at Fort Baker, the newly designated interspecies military base. Commander Gray, the lead alien advisor, stood watching Major Tom Walker's weapons demonstration with obvious boredom. His tall, slender frame towered over the human soldiers, and his silver environmental suit gleamed in the morning sun. "And this," Walker said, holding up an assault rifle, "is our standard infantry weapon. Effective range off." "Yes, yes," Commander Gray interrupted, waving a long-fingered hand dismissively. "More primitive projectile weapons. I fail to understand why you insist on showing us these outdated tools." He pulled out a sleek device from his suit. "This is a standard-issue Council defense soldier's weapon. Pure energy discharge, no moving parts to maintain, no ammunition to carry." Walker kept his face professionally neutral, though his jaw tightened slightly. "Would you care to demonstrate its effectiveness, Commander?" At the firing range, Commander Gray's weapon hummed to life. A brilliant beam of energy shot out, leaving a smoking hole in the target. The alien turned to Walker with an air of smugness. "As you can see, far more efficient than your crude bullets." "Impressive," Walker admitted, "though I notice it took 3 seconds to recharge between shots. A minor limitation," Gray said dismissively. "The power cell lasts for months." Walker nodded thoughtfully. "Mind if I try my crude weapon now?" Without waiting for a response, he raised his rifle and fired a 3-round burst. The shots came so fast, they sounded like a single crack, and 3 holes appeared in the target's center mass, grouped tightly together. Commander Gray's assistant, a bug-like alien named Bright, made a chirping sound. "Interesting rate of fire, but surely the energy expenditure." 30 rounds in under 3 seconds if needed," Walker interrupted calmly. "And I can reload in under 2 seconds." He demonstrated, the magazine change smooth and practiced. The aliens exchanged glances. Yet these weapons require constant maintenance, resupply of ammunition, and training to use effectively. Gray noted, "Our weapons are simply point and shoot." Later that day, in the base's conference room, General Davis met with Walker to review the assessment. "They're not taking us seriously," Davis said, studying the aliens' preliminary report on his tablet. "No, sir," Walker agreed. "They seem to think we're stuck in our ways, unwilling to advance to energy weapons." He paused. "But I noticed something during the demonstration. They're environmental suits. They're designed to stop energy weapons, not physical impacts." Commander Gray flinched when I dropped a wrench. Davis leaned forward. "You think their whole defensive doctrine might have the same weakness." "It makes sense, sir. They've had energy weapons so long, they'd forgotten about kinetic impacts. Their shields might stop a laser, but what about a tungsten rod moving at hypersonic speeds?" The general smiled slightly. "Keep that observation to yourself, Major. Let them think we're just stubborn primitives for now." Over the next few weeks, the alien advisors continued their assessment. They watched naval exercises with barely concealed disdain, complained about the excessive noise of fighter jets, and seemed particularly unimpressed by Earth's space defense platforms. "Projectile weapons in space," Commander Gray laughed during one briefing. "Utterly impractical. The recoil alone would make targeting impossible." Walker, sitting in the back of the room, thought about the rail guns hidden inside those platforms, about the tungsten rods they could accelerate to terrifying speeds using electromagnetic fields. He thought about the simple physics of kinetic energy that the aliens seemed to have forgotten in their rush to develop ever more advanced energy weapons. The aliens' final assessment was predictably condescending. "Earth's military capabilities are centuries behind acceptable Council standards," Commander Gray announced. We recommend a complete overhaul of your defense systems, starting with the replacement of all projectile weapons. General Davis accepted the report with a polite smile. After the aliens left the conference room, he turned to Walker. "What do you think, Major?" Walker picked up one of the rifle cartridges from their earlier demonstration. "I think, sir, that they've forgotten something important about physics. Energy weapons are flashy, but mass times velocity squared still equals kinetic energy, and we're very, very good at throwing mass around at high velocities." As they watched the alien ship depart, Davis nodded slowly. "Keep running the demonstrations they want to see, Major, but keep our railgun development quiet. I have a feeling we might need them sooner rather than later." In orbit, Earth's primitive defense platforms tracked the alien ship's departure, their railguns silent but ready. The aliens might be laughing now, but physics didn't care about technological advancement. It just cared about force, mass, and velocity. And humans understood those very well indeed. The attack came without warning. 3 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Earth's moon, their hulls painted black to absorb radar signals. They were raiders, space pirates who had learned of Earth's protected developing world status and assumed it would be an easy target. In orbit, Captain Bill Rogers of the Space Defense Platform Alpha watched his radar screen light up. "Multiple hostile contacts," he reported calmly. "They're heading for the lunar mining stations." The response from Earth Command was immediate. "Understood, Alpha Platform. Hold position but do not engage. Council vessels are responding." Rogers watched as 2 sleek Council patrol ships appeared, their energy weapons powering up with a visible glow. The pirates, however, didn't seem concerned. "Earth Command, this is Council Patrol Leader," a translated voice came through. "Please keep your platforms clear. We will handle this situation." The first exchange of fire was brief but telling. The pirates' shields easily absorbed the Council ship's energy weapons. "Their shields are calibrated to match Council frequencies," one of the patrol ships reported, sounding surprised. "We're having no effect." The pirate ships pressed their advantage, pushing past the Council patrol vessels toward Earth's orbital stations. Their comms crackled with confident chatter. "Primitive world defenses. This will be easy profit." That's when Earth Command made its decision. "Alpha Platform, you are weapons free. Show them what primitive means." Rogers allowed himself a small smile. "Copy that, Command." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target the lead ship. Load the tungsten rounds." The space defense platforms looked primitive from the outside. Simple rotating stations with what appeared to be ordinary gun barrels. The pirates didn't even bother raising shields against them. That was their first mistake. The electromagnetic railgun activated with a surge of power. A 15-kilogram tungsten rod accelerated to 12 kilometers per second. There was no beam of light, no visible energy discharge, just pure physics in action. The lead pirate ship's captain had just enough time to notice something on his sensors before the rod struck. Their energy shields, designed to disperse and absorb energy weapons, did nothing against the physical projectile. The tungsten rod punched through their hull like paper, its kinetic energy converting to heat and light in an explosive display. "What was that?" the second pirate ship demanded. "What kind of weapon?" They never finished the question. 2 more rail gunshots ended the threat, leaving the pirate ships drifting and broken in space. The Council patrol ships hung motionless for several long moments. Finally, their commander spoke. "Earth Command, what exactly did we just witness?" "Basic physics," Rogers replied calmly. "Mass times velocity squared equals kinetic energy. No fancy energy shields required." In the aftermath, Earth's orbital defense platforms gained new respect. The Council patrol commander requested permission to inspect the weapons, but Earth Command politely declined, citing security concerns. At Fort Baker, Major Walker watched recordings of the battle with General Davis. "Looks like our theory about their shields was correct," Walker said. "They never expected physical projectiles at those speeds." Davis nodded. The Council's been sending urgent messages all morning. Apparently, they're concerned about our defensive capabilities. He smiled slightly. They're particularly interested in how we manage to accelerate projectiles to those speeds in space. Are we going to tell them? About the rail guns? Not yet. Let them keep thinking we're just using oversized chemical propulsion. Davis replayed the moment of impact. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. They just need a bit of modern engineering to help them along. In orbit, the space defense platforms continued their silent watch. Their rail guns, previously dismissed as primitive projectile weapons, now represented something the Council had forgotten: the simple, devastating power of kinetic energy. Command wants us to run a full weapons check, Rogers told his crew. They think we might be getting more visitors soon. The crew worked efficiently, checking their primitive weapons. None of them mentioned the irony of how their supposedly outdated technology had just proven itself against advanced alien shields. They didn't need to. The scattered debris of the pirate ships said everything necessary about the effectiveness of human ingenuity. In the end, physics didn't care about how advanced your civilization was. It just cared about mass, velocity, and the simple fact that a fast-moving object would ruin anyone's day, energy shields or not. The Council might have mastered energy weapons, but humans had mastered something far more fundamental and far more dangerous. The Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Recordings of the pirate battle played on floating screens, showing the moment when Earth's primitive weapons had torn through advanced shields like they weren't even there. High Counselor Bright stood at the center of the chamber, his environmental suit gleaming under the bright lights. This requires immediate investigation. How did a developing world defeat ships using our own shield technology? The Council sent their top military scientist, Dr. Smith, to lead the investigation. Unlike previous Council representatives, he arrived on Earth with a notably different attitude: genuine curiosity rather than condescension. "Please," Dr. Smith said, sitting across from Major Walker in Fort Baker's conference room, "explain to me how your weapons work. No advanced energy matrices, no plasma containment, just physical projectiles." Walker laid a simple bullet on the table. "Basic physics, Doctor. This projectile, when accelerated to high speeds, carries kinetic energy. The faster it moves, the more energy it has. Your shields are designed to absorb and deflect energy weapons, but they can't stop physical objects. But the energy requirements to accelerate objects to such speeds in space are quite reasonable when you use electromagnetic acceleration," Walker explained. "We call them rail guns. They're an old concept. We've just improved the engineering." Dr. Smith's translator made a sound that might have been a thoughtful hum. "We abandoned physical projectile weapons centuries ago. They seemed inefficient compared to energy weapons." "No weapon is perfect," Walker agreed. "But bullets don't need complex containment fields. They don't have cooldown periods. And most importantly, they don't care about energy shields." At the Lunar Research Station, Dr. Smith watched in fascination as humans demonstrated their railgun technology. A test shot accelerated a small tungsten rod to incredible speeds, turning a test target into superheated plasma on impact. "The kinetic energy at the point of impact," Smith muttered, checking his instruments. "It's higher than our most advanced plasma weapons, and there's no way to shield against it except with physical armor." The Council's investigation expanded. They discovered that humanity had developed along a completely different technological path. While the Council had pursued energy weapons and shields, humans had refined and perfected the simple concept of throwing things very, very fast. Back on Earth, General Davis met with Ambassador Miller to discuss the investigation's progress. "They're starting to understand," Davis said, reviewing the latest reports. "The Council's entire defense doctrine is based on stopping energy weapons. They never considered physical projectiles a serious threat." Miller nodded. Dr. Smith's preliminary report to the Council calls for a complete review of their defensive technologies. Apparently, They're concerned about more than just our railguns now. Oh, they've realized that if physical projectiles can bypass their shields, then simple rocks accelerated to high speeds could destroy their ships. They've been vulnerable to kinetic weapons all along. They just didn't know it. In orbit, Captain Rogers gave Dr. Smith a tour of Space Defense Platform Alpha. The alien scientist paid particular attention to the simple but effective design of the station's weapons. "Your people never stopped developing projectile weapons," Smith observed. "While we saw them as primitive and moved on, you kept refining them." "Sometimes the old ways work best," Rogers replied. "Energy weapons are impressive, but Newton's laws of motion haven't changed in thousands of years." As Dr. Smith prepared to return to the council, he made one final observation to Ambassador Miller. "Your species is quite remarkable. We thought we were helping you by pushing you toward energy weapons. Instead, you may have helped us by exposing a critical flaw in our defenses." Miller smiled diplomatically. "Perhaps this shows that all civilizations can learn from each other, regardless of their technological level." But as Smith's ship departed, Miller's smile faded. His sources in the council had reported growing tension. Some council members saw Earth's weapons as a threat rather than an opportunity to learn. They worried about a developing world possessing weapons that could bypass their best defenses. "They're scared," Miller told General Davis later that day. "Not just of our weapons, but of what they represent, a completely different way of thinking about space warfare." Davis looked out his office window at the setting sun. "They should be. Because while they're just starting to think about kinetic weapons, we've been perfecting them for centuries." The age of guns wasn't over. In fact, it was about to begin again on a galactic scale. The private meeting chamber deep within the Council space station was filled with representatives from 12 advanced species. None of them looked happy. "These humans," growled Council Member Dark, his black environmental suit absorbing the room's light, "have become a problem that needs solving." The holographic display showed Earth's defense platforms in orbit. "Their weapons bypass all our standard defenses. This cannot be allowed to continue." Council Member Frost, her crystalline form shimming, raised a delicate hand. "But direct action against a protected world would violate our laws." "Laws can be interpreted," Dark replied. "We can claim they represent a security risk. After all, what happens when other developing worlds learn of their weapons?" In his office on Earth, Ambassador Miller received the warning from a friendly council member. His secure quantum communicator displayed a simple message: "They're planning something. Be ready." Miller immediately called an emergency meeting with Earth's Defense Council. General Davis, Major Walker, and Captain Rogers gathered in the secure underground bunker beneath Fort Baker. "Our sources confirm it," Miller explained, spreading documents across the table. 12 council members have formed a coalition. They're planning to neutralize Earth's defense capabilities. Walker studied the intelligence reports. "They're calling it Operation Containment. Their ships are already gathering in the outer solar system." "How many?" Davis asked. 50 warships so far, Rogers reported, showing the long-range sensor data, all equipped with their latest energy weapons and shields. "They're trying to stay out of our detection range, but our deep space sensors picked them up." Miller looked grim. "They think we don't know they're coming. Our friendly contact in the council says they plan to demand we disable our kinetic weapons, claiming they're too dangerous for a developing world." "And if we refuse?" Walker asked, though they all knew the answer. "Then they'll disable them for us," Davis said quietly. "They're afraid. We've shown them their defenses have a critical weakness, and rather than adapt, they want to eliminate the threat." But Earth hadn't been idle since the pirate attack. Hidden factories had been working around the clock. New defense platforms had been placed in strategic orbits, their presence masked by stealth technology the Council hadn't believed humans could possess. "What are our options?" Miller asked. Davis activated a holographic display of the solar system. "We've been preparing for something like this. Project Thunder is ready." Walker's eyes widened. "The mass drivers are operational." Fully. Davis smiled slightly. Hidden in the asteroid belt, each one capable of accelerating chunks of rock to significant fractions of light speed. The Council's about to learn that humans don't just understand guns, we understand gravity assists and orbital mechanics too. Rogers checked his tablet. My crews are ready. All platforms are fully armed, and our new stealth satellites are in position. Miller nodded slowly. I'll try diplomacy first, of course, but we need to be ready. He looked around the room. The Council thinks we're just a primitive species that got lucky with one type of weapon. They don't realize we've been thinking about space warfare since before we left Earth's atmosphere. In space, the Council fleet continued to gather. Their ships were beautiful, sleek vessels designed to fight with energy weapons at close range. They had no concept of what was about to hit them. We should give them one chance, Miller suggested. Show them what we're capable of without actually destroying their ships. Davis agreed. A demonstration. Something to make them reconsider this containment operation. They selected their target carefully. An uninhabited asteroid near the Council fleet's gathering point. The mass driver powered up silently, its electromagnetic fields accelerating a chunk of rock to terrifying speed. The Council fleet's commanders watched in shock as the asteroid simply ceased to exist, transformed into a rapidly expanding cloud of plasma by the kinetic impact. Send the message, Miller instructed. The transmission was short. That was a demonstration. We have more mass drivers aimed at your fleet's position. The next demonstration will not be aimed at an asteroid. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawing your ships. In the Council's private chamber, Dark received the message with growing horror. They had thought they were preparing to contain a primitive species. Instead, they had apparently provoked one that understood the terrible power of kinetic weapons all too well. The conspiracy was about to face the consequences of underestimating humanity's primitive technology. The Council fleet didn't withdraw. Instead, they attacked an hour early, thinking to catch Earth by surprise. They were wrong. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, Captain Rogers announced from Defense Platform Alpha. 53 Council warships, moving into attack formation. General Davis stood in Earth's central command bunker, watching the holographic display as red dots appeared around Earth's orbit. All stations, execute Battle Plan Thunder. Authorization code. Newton's Revenge. The Council ships struck first. Energy beams and plasma bolts lit up space, targeting Earth's visible defense platforms. Their sensors, designed to detect energy weapons, completely missed the smaller stealth platforms hidden in Earth's shadow. Such primitive defenses. Council Commander Dark transmitted. Surrender now, and we will show mercy to your developing world. The response came not in words, but in action. The hidden defense platforms activated their railguns. Hundreds of tungsten rods accelerated to incredible speeds, their paths calculated by Earth's most advanced computers. The Council fleet's shields, impressive against energy weapons, might as well have been tissue paper. 20 ships were hit in the first volley. Some were torn apart instantly, others left spinning with massive holes through their hulls. Impossible. Dark's transmission was panicked now. Their weapons platforms were supposed to be visible. But Earth wasn't done. In the asteroid belt, the mass drivers powered up. Their targets weren't the ships themselves, but rather the space around them. Small rocks, accelerated to near-light speed, created an expanding field of deadly projectiles. Spread out. Dark ordered his remaining ships. They can't target us all at once. Walker, monitoring the battle from a secondary command center, smiled grimly. They still don't understand. Show them the drones. Hundreds of small, unmanned vessels emerged from hidden bays on the moon. Each carried a single, simple weapon, a modified railgun. The Council ships found themselves surrounded by a swarm of agile, deadly fighters that their energy weapons struggled to hit. This is your final warning. Miller transmitted to the Council fleet. Withdraw now. Dark's response was to launch a desperate attack on Earth itself. His remaining ships charged forward, energy weapons blazing. They never made it past the moon. The mass drivers fired again. This time, their projectiles were precisely targeted tungsten rods, each carrying enough kinetic energy to split a council ship in half. The beautiful energy weapons of the council proved useless against simple physics. All ships, break off attack. Dark ordered, too late. His own flagship shuddered as a hypersonic projectile plunged through its main drive. How? They were supposed to be primitive. In the command bunker, Davis watched the council fleet falling apart. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, he muttered, especially when backed by modern technology. The battle lasted less than 30 minutes. When it was over, the council fleet was in ruins. Some ships had been destroyed, others disabled. Dark's flagship drifted powerless, its once proud commander now requesting emergency aid from the very world he tried to subjugate. "Send in the rescue ships," Davis ordered. "Show them that humans know how to win with honor." As Earth's rescue vessels approached the crippled council ships, Miller prepared his report to the full Galactic Council. The evidence was clear. The conspiracy had acted illegally, and Earth had defended itself using weapons that, while seemingly primitive, had proven devastatingly effective. "They thought our weapons were outdated," Walker said, watching the rescue operation. "They never understood that we kept developing them, making them better, while they forgot the basic principles that made them work." Rogers' voice came through from his defense platform. "Sir, we're detecting more council ships arriving, but these are from the neutral members. They're offering assistance with the rescue operation." In the aftermath, as Earth's rescue ships helped survivors from the council vessels, the true impact of the battle became clear. Humanity hadn't just defended itself. It had demonstrated a completely different approach to space warfare. One based not on fancy energy weapons, but on the simple, unchanging laws of physics. The age of guns wasn't over. It had just gone interstellar. 2 weeks after the battle, Ambassador Miller stood before the full Galactic Council. The chamber was packed. Every member species had sent representatives to this historic session. Even those who had once laughed at human weapons now watched in respectful silence. "The attack on Earth was illegal," High Counselor Bright announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Those responsible have been stripped of their positions and will face justice." He turned to Miller. "Earth has proven itself more than capable of defending its interests. We formally offer full council membership, effective immediately." Miller looked around the chamber. The conspiracy members' seats were empty, but he noticed many other council members wearing what appeared to be modified environmental suits, now with reinforced physical armor alongside their energy shields. "Earth accepts membership," Miller said simply. "We look forward to sharing our defensive technologies and learning from yours." Back on Earth, General Davis and Major Walker watched the ceremony via holographic transmission from their new office in the Joint Galactic Defense Command. "Orders are pouring in," Walker reported, checking his tablet. 30 species want our railgun designs. 15 want to know more about the mass drivers. Even the Council's most advanced civilizations are requesting our primitive technology. Davis nodded. "And what are we requesting in return?" "Their energy weapon designs, shield technology, faster than light drive specifications." Walker smiled. "Turns out they're quite eager to trade. Something about not wanting to be on the wrong side of our kinetic weapons." In orbit, Captain Rogers supervised the construction of the new Galactic Defense Academy. Council species were sending their best military minds to learn about kinetic weapons, while human officers studied energy weapon tactics. "The first class arrives next week," Rogers told a group of human and alien instructors. "We'll teach them that true military strength comes from understanding all types of weapons, not just the flashiest ones." The changes spread throughout the galaxy. Council ships began incorporating physical armor alongside their energy shields. New designs emerged combining human kinetic weapons with alien energy technology. Some called it a renaissance in military technology. At Fort Baker, now an interspecies military base, Dr. Smith worked with human scientists to develop hybrid weapons. The combination of kinetic impact and energy discharge, he explained to a group of officials, creates something more effective than either technology alone. Miller, returning from a council ceremony, met with Earth's leadership. They're calling it the human revolution in military doctrine, he reported. Our primitive weapons changed their understanding of space warfare. And what about the conspiracy members? Someone asked. Stripped of their positions, their worlds under temporary council supervision. Miller smiled slightly. They've been ordered to complete a comprehensive course in basic physics as part of their rehabilitation. The galaxy was changing. Ships that once carried only energy weapons now bristled with railguns. Defense platforms combined physical armor with energy shields. The Council's military doctrine underwent its biggest change in 10,000 years. You know what the ironic part is? Walker said to Davis as they watched construction begin on Earth's new Galactic Military Academy. If they hadn't laughed at our guns, if they'd taken us seriously from the start, we might have abandoned kinetic weapons for their energy technology. Davis nodded. Their arrogance made them forget the basics. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. You just need to keep improving them. In the years that followed, Earth became known not just for its military technology, but for its practical approach to problem solving. Human instructors taught alien soldiers about kinetic weapons, while human students learned about energy technology. The combination of both created something new, a military doctrine that respected both the old and the new. The council chamber added a new inscription above its entrance. Wisdom lies not in the complexity of our weapons, but in understanding the principles behind them. And in museums across the galaxy, they added a new exhibit, an old human rifle next to an advanced energy weapon, with a simple plaque that read, "Never laugh at the basics. Physics always has the last word." The age of guns hadn't ended. It had evolved, teaching the galaxy that true advancement comes not from abandoning the old ways, but from understanding why they worked in the first place. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by following the Council's path, but by remembering something they had forgotten. Sometimes the simplest weapons are the most effective. You just need to be smart enough to keep improving them.